So good morning, everyone. Good evening. New Year with a bell.
You don't turn you don't turn music on, people can't hear the bell. You have to have live performance audio on in your Zoom.
Ah,
Yeah, we did.
I heard it. I heard it, Katarina.
Technical issue that
Imagine it if
we
you
should
don't.
have dealt with in the last year.
I heard the bell. Great.
Just you only heard the beginning of the bell
Right.
before Zoom said, "Oh, that's a bell. We're not gonna play that."
Oh, I see. Zoom got on to us. Well, we'll figure that out as a planning committee in the future. So, Katarina, do you have more to your greeting?
Oh, yes, that we have a new year, we have a rhythm, and we have seasons. We have those all the time. We have a pause where we can rest like the bears hibernate in the winter. And there's something in between. So that's what we're here for you today. And Lynn's going to say something special.
Something special. I don't know about that, but we're having a conversation with all of us about stepping into the new year, and the planning committee will say just a few words to sort of get us started. And what I'd like to say for my piece is that the title "Stepping into the New Year" is really a particularly focusing way of talking, because Jean developed a whole philosophy about these small steps that we take in development, in something coming, in something changing. And there is an idea that people have that that change can come in a flash, and it can, of course. But I think that is a different process, that process of sudden illumination in which your whole life changes. That's something different than what Jean is talking about when he talks about the natural organic process of becoming. Jean's idea was that nothing just is. And he jokingly said, is a bad word. Nothing is static. Nothing just is. Everything is becoming, always. And focusing is a way of participating in that becoming that's often sub-symbolic, it's often implicit, it's under the surface. We're becoming ourselves always, or we're becoming our older selves, or our further selves. And so that becoming happens in these little tiny steps, and focusing is somewhat unique in articulating the steps that happen in less than a minute. We find something, we allow it to register, to be in our bodies, to sort of digest it. Something comes about it. We bring that into thought. And then we again allow that to settle. And it's these small steps that Jean talked about as a zigzag between what's explicit in words and a line development, and what's implicit that doesn't have words yet, but has a felt sense to it. So, so let's think about stepping into the new year in terms of those steps. And Pauline is next.
Thank you. Thanks, Lynn, and hello to everyone. And I'm always, every time that I kind of really look around the squares, that's my dominant intent, is to remember that I'm talking to individuals, you know, not people and not others, but that I have a sense. And I was even thinking about this before I came on, is that I know so many from being here, you know, so that's a sense of you. I might have more of a sense of Dorothy and Jim and Liz and Lynn and Katarina, Christine, Sophie, then I might have more of a sense of the other than myself. So in that way, for the new year, it's really kind of celebrating the sense of self. So it's really coming back. And even if that sense of self is murky and doesn't feel good and is tired and all the rest, if it feels like this is me, what's the felt sense? So there's a really kind of, I don't know, when I use it as a tool or as a practice, it's clearing the space. But when I introduce it to others for the first time, you know, they just might not know what's standing between them and being all right. It is always transformational. I'm always amazed at the intelligence that they don't have access through in their cognitive state. They don't know what's standing between them, but something in us knows what's standing between us and being all right. And clearing the space is such a relief from all that's standing between us and being all right. It has words, you know, it has reason. So that's my kind of really reminder, anyone that knows focusing, and even if you don't, it's really just a very, I won't say easy, it's complex, but it does work. What's standing between you and being all right? So that's just the first maybe beginning of the new year. What is standing between me and being all right? And the second idea that I might just introduce for the new year is, what's standing between me and having fun? What is standing between me and having fun? It's just like, fuck it, go for it. You know, what is standing between me? Not being all right, because that's so complex, but what is standing between me and being all right? And really just being determination of will to find out, you know, why not this year? So that's my kind of a reminder to myself and you, which is
Thank
the
you.
other. You know, so.
Thank you, Pauline.
Okay. All right.
Hi, I'm next, even though nobody announced me. My name is Jim, and I have not changed showing up at Help the Helpers. I've been here at almost every meeting.
True.
Now, I could change that and not show up. In fact, I could leave now, but I'm not going to. So we're talking about change. We're talking about New Year's as if January 1st is some kind of demarcation. It's a bit random, as in the unit model. We chop things up into units and pretend that they're all alike in some way. But even the word change, language, when we use it, we're trying to express something. And what we're trying to express is not the dictionary definition of things. The word change means different things to different people. And you can think to yourself, what do I want the word change to mean? When I say change, what do I mean? When I say in this new year, I want such and such to change, you know, because one kind of change might be that in the new year, I want such and such to be the same, but I want to feel differently about it. There's all sorts of ways things change. In fact, there's no way things don't change. It's impossible to stop change. Maybe what you want in the new year is for change to stop. That's going to be very hard. Uh, so, uh, so that, uh, Liz?
Change happens whether we like it or not. Must we as humans take charge of this change? Is that always desirable? Might we accept the natural flow without becoming paralyzed with that out of control feeling as we go through life, which we call anxiety? I'm done.
With the anxiety of Dorothy not knowing she goes next.
Um, so what I want to say is, I hear many, many different ideas about change. And sometimes I have a really good memory but often I don't. What I'm going to go with right now is something that's strongly been up for me for many, many years, is this idea of this force that I have to change, a little bit along the lines of what Liz was saying. Like, how much control do we really have over this change process? One of the things that I've always wanted to change, it just comes up all the time, is that how uncomfortable I am in speaking in groups and how I would love not to have the anxiety. But the strongest piece about focusing that I am learning all the time is that asking myself the question, how do I want to be with this? So that is really important. How do I want to be with this feeling of that it's actually a part of me? It's not all of me. It's one part that wants the anxiety to calm down about speaking in front of people. But the other part can just be with you and introduce the concept of play to myself. And it's my belief that if I allow for the more playful self that I do have inside of me, but which is often dormant, that it will bring more lightness to the aspect of the part that gets so anxious. Okay, moving along here.
Thank you, Dorothy. So let's take a minute as we're taking in all of these thoughts about stepping into the new year and let them kind of settle in us. The idea of the rhythms that Katarina talked about, the natural rhythms of seasons and years. The idea that change happens in very small steps, doesn't happen in a large crescendo most often. And Pauline's asking us to sense ourselves and what might be in the way of taking those steps, taking a step toward being more ourselves. And Jim talking about the different kinds of change and asking what we mean by change. Remember that words are just pointing to some kind of experience. What is the experience that we're pointing to when we use the word change? And Liz was asking the question, well, what if we don't participate in our own change consciously? What if we allow the change that's always happening to happen and we're okay with ourselves just the way we are? We don't have to take the reins. We don't have to be anxious about it. And then Dorothy was bringing all of that together and talking about playfulness as a kind of antidote to anxiety in being more herself, being able to speak in groups more easily, more gracefully, without anxiety, more playfully. And I just want to remind you that last time we talked about our intentions, what we wanted for the new year. So let's give ourselves a moment to see how we feel this week about stepping into this new year.
Lucy.
I have to admit, I think I'm feeling quite differently to what I'm hearing from some of them. I'm feeling something more like bracing myself entering this new year. Really aware that today is the 6th of January, and this, I guess I'm just very aware of these collective happenings and changes, and yeah, I've got this very sort of ominous, very oppressive feeling inside of me, and this very deep sense of yeah, I guess foreboding that perhaps the sort of the world as I've known it up until today, and then maybe yeah, I guess that from this fearful place, there's a sense of perhaps today is a turning point in the world. And I noticed there's a very deep sense inside of me of needing and wanting to find places to sit with others, to connect with others, to create networks of resilience, of solidarity, to I guess of sort of companionship, to be alongside one another in this next time that I'm imagining is going to be quite a ride, collectively and for many of us individually.
Thank you, Lucy. That fills out the picture, you know, that we might anticipate how we want to be in the new year. And then you were talking about the dread and sort of collective anxiety of feeling that the world may be changing in a way that we don't want it, or there may be very difficult challenges in the new year, and you're bracing yourself and wanting us to all be accompanying each other, like that saying of Ram Dass of we're walking each other home.
And the other thing, Lucy, I just wanted to it's kind of like the intention of accompanying someone and companionship, you know, and us using our creativity to imagine a different, I suppose, approach, you know, to what we're doing. I just remember some of the fun playground rides that I forced myself. I wouldn't do it anymore, but there was dread going into those tunnels and all of the rest, you know, but it was an adventure so I'm just wondering, what would it be like to play with a different image of going into the future, a sense of like white river rafting or something like that. Yeah, you know, it's we can do that. We can change our minds about what we anticipate. So just offering that as an alternative or as a gift.
I'm getting the feeling of emergency, though, that one can't ignore. Fiddling as Rome burns, or
Mm.
saying, oh, it'll be okay. Those people in charge, they're not that bad. And then things happen, and you wish you hadn't had your head in the sand. So just another, that's sort of a real life thought rather than more of a theory when you feel that there's actual danger going on around you.
Well, I'd say it's like, well, just in this moment, there's nothing going on around me. Absolutely nothing going around me other than, and this kind of you know, when I believe my thoughts, I suffer, you know, the Byron Katie idea. When I believe my thoughts, I suffer. But what I'm really not worrying about is the sun coming up in the morning. And, you know, once those sort of things, then I'd start to get worried very fast because big shifts going to start, you know. So I think it's our perception of the political world, you know, but that's just personal. It's individual. I can do what I want. Others can do what they want. So that's how individual we are.
No, there's some people who can't do what they want because someone's going to make them do something that they don't want.
And they may never see the sun again.
I think that we're talking about a kind of balance, and we're holding different positions there in that balance of personal looking forward to life and how we want to hold it and how we want to be with it and who we are in relation to it. And then there's what Lucy is talking about, the social political spheres of dreading that the world may be going in a downhill direction, and fearing tyranny and oppression. And so we're needing to hold both of these things. And maybe I think to me, the feeling that I can participate in my own future, no matter what is going on, I can respond to it, that I have personal agency to respond to it in my own way, that helps me to balance my fears about collective oppression and issues. Say, well, we don't know the future, but I want to be ready to respond to whatever the world is doing.
Thank you, Lynn, and also Jim, for mentioning the people who don't have agency right now, and just also feeling just to name the people in Gaza right now, given that this is the first time we're meeting this year, and what a pain that is, what a horror that is, and here we all are and we don't know how this is going to unfold. Yeah.
There's a whole check your privilege situation about, you know, who is us and who is them. I feel perfectly safe at this moment in my home. But then the question is, how far do I want to be experiencing others, and how much is a projection also versus a reality of others? Because I'm not others, you know, how much can I really be experiencing of others without it being more like headlines or pictures that a photojournalist took?
I think for me, how I've been coping with painful feelings and anticipation, I try to really live in the day as much as I can, and be in the day and try not to project so much into the future, and see what I can do for the day, because I don't know what 5 minutes from now is going to bring, really, right? So I try to really be grounded in the now as much as I can. And that seems to help me somewhat. I think it's also important, you know, a lot of times right now I hear we're talking about so many of our feelings that are frightening and painful, and I'd like to be able to see ways in which we can cope with those feelings, how to move forward with them. So that's just my need.
Yeah, it's not just your need, though. You know, when we say, oh, it's just my need, it's as if we aren't an important ingredient in the whole. So maybe we could take a moment, all of us, to just be with that part in us that may have fears and dreads of the future. I'm putting my hands on my chest because it helps me to sort of connect with that part and to hold that part, to validate those fears and concerns, and not knowing what the future brings. And we don't want to ignore the places in us that are fearful. And I say to that part in myself, I'll be with you. We'll be all together. There's a big us. And let's be open to the surprises that are strengthening and enjoyable, but not ignore the fear of surprises that we're afraid of. But I'm wondering, what do you do how are you with the fears and trepidations of the future?
I can just contribute by saying it's easier for me to just be, like you said, Lynn, be present with it than it is to fight it. For me, it's kind of like a relief to just be present with it. And when I fight it, yeah, it's that energy. It's just, and then I find that when I'm more present with it, then I head into solution.
not fight with the fears and say, don't worry about it, or say, oh, we better worry about it, or whatever. But to be with the fears, and also to be with the pain of the people in Gaza and all throughout the world, the people that are suffering.
Exactly. To feel it and be with it.
Oh, I just want to say it feels so, I can feel the shift, just that I realize it's very important. For me, it feels very different to be in a space where there are some people, perhaps it doesn't fit with all of your processes, but who say, I'm here and I want to be with the pain and feel it and not turn away from it. I realize when it's such a big collective and there's such big things happening in the world, what just got very clear for me is actually, for me, I need to do that with others, not alone.
Mm.
That just helped my body hearing you speak that. Yes, your willingness to do that. So thank you. Yeah.
What you just said, Lucy, is an example of those little steps that something releases. Yes, we can hold the fears and the suffering and the pain and not be having to turn away from it. And it doesn't have to take over everything.
Can I say something? Oh dear. I guess I'll put my picture on here. So I'm walking and I'm stopping to talk. And I've been feeling for quite a while that I am full of fear and dread for the present. I can't even imagine the future. And what I've noticed in myself, I think it was sometime last week, I realized, my God, you're walking a lot. And I realized I'm walking almost like a part of me was just walking to try to have some movement, because the complexity of what I've been feeling is so challenging. There's so many layers. I can't, it's not so simple as sure, politics, and I don't mean to disparage anything that anybody else said. I've appreciated a lot of what I've heard. It's besides the war and living in a place that's grieving and not happy with the way our country is being run, and also, I've got two countries. I'm a citizen of two countries, but the other one feels really far away right now. My mother died 2 months ago, and a good focusing friend died this week. So these two men just walked by and said, "Don't cry."
Oh.
I think I can hide it behind the dark glasses. Anyway, I just, in my writing and my praying and my meditating, I feel like I'm a collage of so many different facets. I could say I'm a diamond, reframe it. There's so many different facets, and it's very hard to be with one because there's so many of them at the same time. So what's coming to me from, I think it was Lynn or somebody said, how do you cope with it, is what feels most important to me is to be kind, just to be kind and accepting and say, this is how it is in this moment, and to hold myself. And I've been doing some self EMDR in the evenings, and that helps me to kind of dial down. And I do yoga twice a day and going to the gym and walking these 12 kilometers a day. I'm doing eating well, just focusing. But sometimes it's focusing feels pretty hard to do. And it's after 30 years of doing this practice, it's a surprise that how hard it can be. It's when there's so many things. But I suppose as I say this, there's one felt sense, and I just need to find it. So anyway, I just want to thank everybody that showed up, and I want to thank Jim because you made me laugh for the first time today, and it's after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so I appreciate it. And then I appreciated Liz's comment, and just different comments. I appreciate you all. So don't know if that made any sense, but that's where I am, just to bring a different perspective here. Yeah, thanks. No, maybe I'll just say one more word because I didn't name Joyce. And Joyce Kornblatt is somebody I met on the focusing discussion list when it first started. I don't remember, it was in the 90s, and she was still living in Washington, D.C., and I was living in Berkeley, California. And then she shortly after that married another focuser in Australia and has lived there ever since. So she passed away on New Year's Day, and she was she fought cancer for several years, and she did a list, one of those lists that you do, I forget what it's called, anyway, and wrote inspirational things on there, kept posting and posting and posting, and gave so much to the many people all over the world that loved her. And so her soul left her body on January 1st in the morning.
Wow.
Just wanted to name her because she was very special. And if you didn't get to know her, anyway, I'm finding with my mother, a lot of healing is happening that wasn't able to happen when she was embodied. My mother's the totally opposite end of the spectrum from Joyce in personality, but I'm really feeling how people live on, not just theoretically, but really the way that we carry them and how our relationship with them can evolve even after they pass has been pretty profound. That's it. So I'm leaning against the wall here as I'm walking to the Shuk in Jerusalem. That's what you're stone wall. Thanks.
Hi, Ruth. Happy New Year to you. It just feels natural to say I received all you said. Maybe I don't need to put words, but just not to acknowledge. So it's really just Happy New Year, and really sorry for your loss. And thank you for sharing so much of yourself. It's just warm. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks,
Yes,
Pauline.
I feel that way also, and I feel this new little place in me of Joyce that I never met her, and also your mom on the other side of the of the continuum. I'm here upstate, and I think you might notice that my background is a little different. I'm with my sister and her family, and her husband is very sick. and probably won't last very much longer. And there's a lot of sadness, but then there's also a kind of joy when he's able to participate a little bit in a conversation or eat something. And the love and connection in the family, there's joy in that. And that's this combination of suffering and warmth and care. I'm just feeling all of that very critically, very, very powerfully these days. And then it's wonderful that I can come to this group that's met now for 4 years and just listen and speak with all of you. All of these human things in this turning point of the new year.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Lynn. Very special you could be with your sister and her husband right now.
Mm. Well, thank you for giving me the impetus to share.
I'm feeling the web of support that we create by our sharing with each other.
We're going to be going into breakout rooms in a few minutes, and I have the feeling that there are others that would want to share whatever is there for you, and it may not follow the the linear conversation that's developing, but anything is welcome.
I felt that Lynn, I don't know if this is Shashi.
Yes, Sashi.
I felt that I was looking through two kaleidoscopes, one outside, one inside. That we are focused on the larger picture of the world and our place in it, and then we are focused on our own inner world. And so many aspects to each one of us that that connects us, I think, that and it gives a little bit of a comfort that we are all the same in some ways. We just have our own little worlds besides the big world that we live in, and we are more or less the same than different. And yeah, I felt like I was going in and out of the me and you and the others and the us.
Yeah. Like a kaleidoscope. The I, the you, and the us.
I was hearing the other day something that, Sashi, what you said made me think about how we are so trained to or programmed to with our individuality, and that if we think of ourselves as humanity, survivor of the human race so far, maybe there would be less problems, no? Like we are in this together. There are different ways of saying this, the interconnection, but this sense that this focus on our individuality seems to, yeah, create so much problems, of focuses on problems. The other thing I heard that I thought was really interesting, to resolve problems since we are very little, that they, you know, in school, that there is a problem and we need to find a solution or resolve it. That if we would think of it as not problems, but life, right? Challenges, perhaps, then we might, and I have the image of a horse right now, we might ride the horse differently, or embrace it differently. So that those two things kind of made me, it just gave me a different place to look at, a different perspective, a different, yeah, seat to look at what I'm perceiving, I'm facing, we're facing. And there was something in what you said, Sashi, that resonated, was what I first said.
Thank you, Sylvie. And maybe that is a statement that can hold us as we go into our breakout rooms, and we'll have 3 people and just talk about all of the feelings that that come with stepping into a new year. And we'll come back at 9:30. See you all at 9:30. Bye-bye now. So, how was your breakout rooms? Who has something to share there?
I just want to say to Lucy, because we didn't have a chance to finish or put some closure, thank you for understanding and feeling where I was truly trying to come from. So I just wanted to say that to you. Thank you. That helped me. I didn't feel so alone.
Thank you.
I had a strange experience. I was in a room by myself.
Oh no.
So I wrote left alone in a group room. And this is what I wrote. I am me, I'm the world is me. All are welcome with anything, with any feelings, words, or actions. Come expand my world, but only bring a lamp, light and not darkness, laughter and not tears. I have enough darkness and tears myself. I'll give you some light, I'll give you some laughter, along with cookies made from kindness and love. I will let you make my world a better place. Otherwise, the gate is closed.
Wow.
I think that was my frustration of being alone in the group room.
I want some of those cookies made of kindness.
It's very strange to be alone in a group room.
I've been there. It happens.
Yeah.
I've been in a group room where I felt alone. But that happens even more often.
But you stayed, Sashi. You stayed. Usually when I've been there, I kind of reach out and get out, but you stayed and you wrote. That's interesting to me, yeah.
Well, I was like like this, but then I say, oh, stay with it and see how it does it feel to be in it, and see how quickly the anger comes. Like, where the heck are you? I'm not going to give you anything.
You closed your gate. Now you can hear what you were missing in other rooms.
We spoke of the difficulties of making a difference, and then of the ripple effect of small acts that can occur, and our hope
Yes.
that that could make a difference elsewhere as well.
Yes. Wow. I'd love to do a helpers group about the ripple effect and tracking how things have happened in our lives and with the ripples.
I think it's Lucy was started was the word company. Did you want company or something? That's the way I heard it. And I think last time we did something also about intention or and that was my intention. And there was yes, we did something about intention, and we ask, or some of us ask, what do we need to make this intention happen or those intentions happen? And what came to me was, yeah, company. I want company. I'm not sure what kind of company or how or what this company means, but that's resonating. And again, I have my speaking language thing coming up. I'm wondering if anybody else with an accent is having this popping.
Yeah,
I'd be curious.
I have it too.
I had it popping.
Okay, great. Thank you.
It's a Zoom feature to do that. And like many programmatic features, it was some programmer's idea that people would want to know this, and it's notifying the wrong people.
Such a difference when I'm in the group versus in a breakout room. In a breakout room, I feel a compulsion to present myself as a good girl. Whereas in public, like in this group, I can be my more cynical self. I always have a feeling in the breakout rooms that I'm not being myself. I'm trying to present some pretty image. And I definitely did so this time. I talked about some good act I did. It was all true, but it has to do with an emphasis. I think it's that I want the girls to like me. It's almost all girls, and there's a real pressure to figure out what the girls want in the breakout room and to give it to them. Whereas, unlike a lot of people who can't talk much in a group, but come alive in private, when I'm in the big room, I feel like I can be my large, comedic, cynical self, and the people listening are more experienced as an audience, and they don't have much control over me. But in the small group, I could be shunned very easily. It's this historical thing, of course. Yeah, the girls, ooh, her, you know.
That's very
You can be an ew, her if you're kind of a large comedic presence on a stage. And you don't really care. The lights are off, you know, you can't even see them really. So
We see.
that's my experience.
It
doesn't have the power though, somehow. It's odd.
It's
Wow.
interesting to me that you think that the cynical self is more authentic than the pretty self. And I
It's a
was,
feeling.
yeah. But it was just interesting to me that you identify with the cynical self, not the pretty self, and that, of course, you're a pretty and cynical self.
Right.
And both of them make up who you are, which is a much more is a very interesting, thoughtful person. It's interesting that in a large group, you can be cynical, and that doesn't feel like a defense. But that in the smaller group, you have to be nice as a defense. So you're not. I'm trying to think what I do. I mean, I always am afraid of being shunned too, or at least I used to be. I'm not so much anymore. Interesting how we struggle with that, wanting to be accepted, because it's certainly true for me too.
Yeah, I noted instead that they were all girls, and I realized I'm the only man here. Although I could change my pronouns and there won't be any men here.
Yeah, Bob didn't even come today.
I think that probably everybody has these different feelings of being in the larger group and in the smaller group. They may not speak about it, but everybody probably would have some feelings about the difference of being in smaller versus larger group.
Well, I always wonder just how people experience being in the breakout rooms. You know, are they thinking, oh, I'm in a breakout room. Here are these, or do they, like me, steel themselves to be in the breakout room and hope for the best or something? Do people feel comfortable?
For me,
I get
feel safer. I feel safer in the breakout room. That's the word that comes up for me. Safety.
That's normal. You're normal.
Well, I'll
I
take
mean,
the
if
How
we
can you insult her like that?
we took a vote. We took a vote, I think your group would win.
I
Well,
always
I
I'm
also
sorry.
feel safer. I feel safer in a group. And I figured it's just because home was not a safe place for me. And I always felt safer outside, safer in a group than I did with just a few people. So anyway, so there's another vote for the other side, although I think we are in the minority, but there it is.
Well, I always get nervous about going into the group because it's like, and I wait to see what others have to say, and I wonder, will I have anything to say? I don't know. I don't know what. I guess I worry about not fitting in too. I guess in some ways that I won't have anything intelligent to say or anything. So I get a little bit nervous when I'm going into a breakup room also. But then as I listen to others, I relax because usually they're, I don't know, have things to say that can stimulate my own thoughts.
Usually they're not evil or homicidal.
That's true.
Best to be in Shashi's room.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
Best would have been to be in your room.
Sashi was in a small group, all these different parts.
I'm having this memory of this time when I think it was Serge Prengle. Is that how one says his name?
Sure.
And he was leading the group, and somehow the breakout rooms didn't work, and people ended up feeling stuck in the main group. And I remember greatly enjoying it, but I remember some people were in a mutiny, feeling really robbed of the possibility to go in the small group.
Yes, yes. Well, I think it's time for Dorothy's poem. You have a poem for us, Dorothy?
Yes.
I just wanted to say hello to Angie. It's our first time with.
Oh,
So it's like Happy New
welcome,
Year.
welcome.
And it's lovely to
Oh.
meet you.
Thank you.
And we had great laughed out fun in our group. It was just, we made fun of everything, including cancer. We were outrageous. And we weren't attacked.
I'm holding off for another time for the O'Donoghue poem, and because the nature of what we were talking about, being in the larger world, I'm just drawn. They said in my small group to read this poem by Sahar Muradi, Palestinian poet. All I can see is nothing. And she has her two quotes in the beginning. If nothing that can be seen can either be God or represent him to us as he is, then to find God, we must pass beyond everything that can be seen and enter into darkness. Since nothing that can be heard is God, to find him, we must enter into silence. From Thomas Merton. And then, I swear to God, Mom, I am exhausted, but praise be to God in all circumstances. Writing translated from the Arabic on the Al-Shifa Hospital walls, April 2024. And the poem. All I can see is nothing, fields of hollow, the oath that escapes, a pasture of mouths, an apartment building of locked jaws, the silent weeping of rocks. I hear nothing in the bags of soft limbs sighing, milk teeth sharpening a father's heart, the cone hat on the small head singing to plumes, Iftar in the tents flapping pages off the moon, but your name over and over on the hospital walls, but your name stilling the fire that does not cease, but your name everywhere, everything all at once. I see nothing from this distance, this deepest sight, this longest darkness. Fumble at far to loosen my gasps. I repeat your name over and over, then bow to your wisdom, to the terror of your liberation. Oh, that I may not see anything more.
Thank you, Dorothy. And we'll see you all next week. Happy New Year again. Whatever Happy New Year means to you. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.